Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alfian Putra Ramadhan. I'm the LSPR Communication and Business Institute Indonesia student under the supervision of Mr. Charles Bonar Sirait as my mentor and lecturer. I'm here today to talk to you about a climate change issue that is very important for the sustainable world. This is a simple explanation of climate change based on article in the New York Times. The average temperature on the surface of the planet has already increased 1.7 degrees Fahrenheit since 1880, which may not seem like much, but think about it this way. The heat from human emissions is roughly equal to 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs exploding across the planet every single day. Future generations are in big trouble, but for now, it will continue to get warmer and storms will grow more intense, with longer period of drought in between. But longer term, if emissions continue to rise unchecked, the climate disaster will be so severe they will destabilize entire nations, send millions of refugees across borders, cause widespread extinctions of most species on Earth, and melt the polar ice caps, leaving most of the world's coastal city several feet underwater. All this could take centuries, but something like the sudden collapse of agriculture will trigger immediate chaos in in society. Best case is we get our act together and begin to rapidly bring emissions levels down. Meanwhile, Earth turned out to be less sensitive to greenhouse gases than we currently believe. Plants and animals adapt quickly, and major technological breakthrough help society limit emissions and adjust to climate change. But these are all the opposite of what we are actually seeing. So the only thing in our control is to limit emission using all available tools and best behavior currently at our disposal. Worst case, the collapse of food production causes spiraling price, and as our capitalist utopia breaks down, billions starve as our world gets violent and messy, real quick, kind of like a zombie apocalypse, but with extreme hunger spreading chaos instead. So, yeah, still just like a zombie apocalypse. This would be coupled with the melting of the Antarctic ice sheet, leading to rapidly rising seas that would force us to abandon many of our greatest cities and all of the social and scientific progress that we were making within them. Adding insult to injury is the fact that many of the emissions we are emitted will building this now abandoned underwater metropolis. If emissions continue unchecked, we are looking at a total rise of between 160 feet, which would occur if all the ice in the poles melt. So the oceans will rise. The real question is how fast. Scientists only have Earth's history to base their predictions on, which suggests that the rate has occasionally hit 1 foot per decade. So we'll have to adapt to an altered coastline sooner or later, but probably much sooner than later. Because computer forecasts only give us a range of future possibilities, the most important evidence comes from the study of post-climate conditions, which clearly show that every time the the amount of carbon dioxide in the rises, the earth warms up, ice melt, and the ocean rise. What's important to remember here is that we are uncharted territory. Humans are pumping carbon dioxide into the air far faster than nature ever has before us. Scientists have been publishing strong evidence that warming, drought, and waves more frequent, causing heavier rainstorms and more severe coastal flooding. But while the internet has made us all more aware of weather disaster in distant countries, it's hard to prove these are all directly made worse by climate change. Canada and Russia both have fast, frozen lands and could see economic benefit from a warmer climate. Putin and the Russians, therefore, have been reluctant to make ambitious climate commitments. But expect that to change as these countries realize they will be swamped by millions of refugees from less fortunate nations. Libertarians and other political conservatives do not like the policies proposed to fight climate change and have chosen to try and block them by actively undermining the science. This effort has been funded by the oil and coal industry, who favor making money above all else. As more resources are devoted to solving the problem, our change at big technological breakthrough are improving, but we still should be spending about 3 times as much money as we currently are on these efforts, according to several in-depth reports. You can reduce your carbon footprint by doing things like plugging leaks in your home insulation, installing a smart thermostat, taking public transit, taking less airplane trips, buying an electric car, and putting solar panels on your roof. A big one is eating less meat. But what's really needed is for you to speak up and exercise your rights as a citizen. Because strong collective actions through state and national policies is how we'll make the most impact. Considering that we've been ignoring scientists' warnings since 80s to limit emissions, we are pretty late in the game. But we have finally reached a moment where nearly every country in the world agrees this is a huge problem and seem ready to commit to taking at least some kind of action. Leading corporations will continue to make bold promises to do their part. Low emission technologies will improve, and many states and cities will go much further than any goal set by their national government.